My point is I question everything and everyone. You trust everyone and think everyone you've ever met is, like, beautiful.
Maybe that's the real punk rock.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me!
A few drums of gas and a couple of bullets. You know what I noticed? Nobody panics when things go according to plan.
Hold on a second here. What about the whole secret identity thing? I mean, I trust you guys, but I'm not sure I'm ready to... Wally West, Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne. Show off.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, it's a little rough, but I was on a time crunch and I really wanted to make it and I wanted to put together something fun as usual. So there we are, a little preview of kind of some of the things we're going to be talking about today. So we're early. We were supposed to be on at 8, but I wanted to get this going because we were supposed to do this last night and it didn't happen. And so here we are. It's been a minute since Fallout's finale. A lot of stuff has been going on with me. And it's been crazy here, and I wasn't sure when I was going to get back on the horse and make something I wanted to, but life's rough out there for a lot of us. Things are so hard, and things have just, between the world and life, it's been crushing. And I wanted to make something, though. I needed to make something. I wanted to get out there, but back on the horse and pick a topic. Something that just gets the juices flowing again, makes me feel good to talk about something positive, even though out there in social media, it's controversy, it's negativity. And for the positive few out there that want to check out positive stuff, here we are. And we were going to go another way. And then I remembered what I wanted to talk about because I've been consuming kind of a lot of DC lately. And that's not normal for me. I'm a Marvel guy. I've been a Marvel guy since I first started reading comics. Batman was the only DC character I cared about because of the 89 movie. And we mostly talk about Marvel between the two of us. It's Marvel on your channel, Marvel on my channel. We talk about Peacemaker, but that's it seems like a whole other thing. Like, and it's newer. It's James Gunn, and I wanted to give DC some equal time because right now, in my opinion, Marvel has been, whether it's the MCU or the comics, things have just been a little, for at least the MCU, aimless. And then with DC, they're on the rise, and it's good. I'm not one of those people who's going to be like, screw DC, screw like Marvel. Hey Dev in the chat, Alfie Smith, how's it going? Can I have a mod? That we'll have to see about that one, Alfie. That usually goes to people that have been around in the core group of people. But anyway, we usually talk about Marvel. We're talking about DC because there's a lot to love about DC. And then I thought, you know what? Let's not just pigeonhole this and talk about like the most recent DC. I want to talk about the whole gamut for us. Like, what is the fun stuff that over the years we've accumulated in our brain of like what we like about DC. And I'll say this, what I think. I've always said that Marvel is like Star Wars and DC is like Star Trek. Marvel is this colorful, poppy thing that's all the, like all the action figures are, and it's bright, and you want to just live in that world. It's the world outside your window, as Stan
Right.
Lee would say, right? DC was always to me like more technical and complicated, like Star Trek. Yeah, it was about bigger, broader things right up front. Star Trek always talking about like, just where we are as people and going out into the universe and dealing with social issues. And Marvel did that too, but they do it too, but it's more, I don't know. It's apples and oranges is like tone wise and everything.
Sure. Well,
DC
I think a lot
is
of times with DC, you find it's DC are the gods very often. They're all very powerful. It is kind of a magnified world. It's a modified world. It's bigger. It's more intense. It's further on edge. Where Marvel is the world outside your window. It's much more of that kind of human story type and dealing with those realities. So yeah, they kind of have different storytelling techniques.
Yeah. And over the years, they've built up a lot to watch. Some good, some bad, some really bad. And we're going to cover all of it. We're going to talk movies, TV shows, comics, and games because they really have been all over the place. And we're not going to compare them. We're Marvel makes good games, DC makes good games. And so that I thought was just an interesting topic for us to get into. And I think the easiest one to get into would just briefly, I think the fastest one to talk about really is games.
Right.
Like the best games. Now they still, I think this is where DC needs to do a little bit more work. Because you have, when I think about DC games, I think of like the side scrollers from back in when I was a kid that I never could get into, or they're just beat 'em ups, whether there was Batman to just go across the screen, and it's like an arcade games, right? And then the infamous Superman N64 game, which is like so unplayable. Like they make bad Iron Man games still.
Oh yeah.
Right? But this was like you get to the ring and you can't even go through the rings and everything. But as far as video games go, and then there's DC Universe Online, which has been huge, and I think it's still going.
Oh yeah, still
I tried
going
to
on.
get into it, but I don't play well with others, so it was one of those games where I realized I couldn't get very far in this thing. But the sandbox that game is fantastic. But for me, the best when I think of what's the best DC game, it's got to be Rocksteady's Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
I know that that's an easy answer, but it's there's Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, Arkham Knight, and then they did the Suicide Squad thing, which what the that's just unfortunate.
Let's focus on the Batman. Yeah.
The Arkham Asylum, I think, is the best of all of them. It was the game that first came out where you were Batman. It was like you sit there and you're moving your controller around, and for some reason, I just feel like I'm there. Like I don't need VR goggles. I don't need anything else. It brought us Kevin Conroy. It got us Mark Hamill. The people who I think arguably for amongst comic book fans, Batman fans and stuff that aren't just like going to the movies to see Christian Bale or Ben Affleck or even Michael Keaton or Val Kilmer or George Clooney or who the hell, there's somebody I feel like I'm missing in there, Robert Pattinson. They're all fine.
Sure.
But Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are Batman and the Joker. They will go down in forever as the best portrayals. They didn't animate themselves. They didn't do all that, but even the studios, they were making a good product, and then they just carried over. And then comes the thing about that game where they started a lot of things. Everybody started borrowing from Arkham Asylum as far as counters and how you could make fluid movements and fighting, and also have a good story that was not your typical action game. You know, I think it would be easy to be like, oh, well, that was disappointing. I really wanted to like fight like Killer Croc proper, or, you know, like Bane. Why wasn't that longer? But it was like these moments that were just that live forever as you're progressing through this mystery and getting to know Arkham Asylum, and just being in such a small place where the game designers were able to really milk everything out of that like area, where a lot of really good games have maze like qualities where they just build in the infrastructure of that and just how much you could do at that place. Where Arkham City and Arkham Knight and even Arkham Origins were like, had you able to do a lot more and bigger, you know, little semi open worldy, Asylum was this like kind of claustrophobic place where the bits you were outside were like small and not really that important. They were just a means to an end to get to the next place. And I don't know how many times you've played Arkham Asylum, but I think it's, for me, it's got to be around like 8 or 9 times. I think I played Arkham Asylum.
Hasn't been that many times for me. I mean, I went through the first game and then was already hungry for the second one, and then long wait for the third for Night. But the thing that they did so well in those games is you felt like Batman immediately. You weren't having to level up. You weren't having to get these things. You had all of your base Batman skills and weapons and stuff. And you were Batman, and then you were able to slowly ramp things up by getting a better grappling hook and a better batarang and a better this and a better that. But it really just, I mean, I think that's what it did. It captured that feel immediately, and you're right, that kind of claustrophobic Arkham Asylum feel allowed it to be very tight. And they focused on, let's have a story. We've got all these people. We'll have a Joker story. That's the overriding, but we're going to be sure to have, you know, a cat, you know, this person's story to that person's story, and these people, and you can bring in all these little side characters that each has its own little bit of a contribution, but really fleshes out going on. I personally think that Arkham City is the best of the games, only because it takes that amazing engine that they did and just opened things up so you could go different places while still keeping it contained for a reason. You know, you had to be inside the asylum. They just made the asylum bigger this time. And I think that Origins is kind of underrated. I think a lot of people weren't. Yeah, I think a lot of people are like, well, this is that side project. It's not done by the same developer. It's done by Warner Brothers. Was it Warner Brothers? WB Montreal.
Yeah,
Montreal. I think they did that. And I love personally the idea that they built off of Arkham City when they made their pre-Arkham City Gotham. So you had part of that map as it was before it turned into the city, and then you had a whole extra section. It was the one thing that honestly at night that kind of got me disappointed. I was like, yeah, but see, this feels like a totally different thing now. Not the same kind of Gotham. I mean, I don't know. I never like it when they end stories. They always have to have well, Batman's got to throw up the cape now. And that always kind of bums me out. But the engine, you're right, the playstyle engine, the multiple combats, the sequence, the fluidity of what they were able to do just off of that first game. I am really surprised that they have not gone back to that well since, because it was the kind of perfect design for a Batman game. And I don't think that they've found the same type of engine for any other major hero. I mean, in DC at least, because again, that's all we're talking about today.
Yeah, so you know, like every memorable moment in those games, yeah, you know, like, and you're right, like, because Arkham City does like so many other things, and you could get different skins for your character. So I could be not just Batman, but I could be the animated series Batman. I could get
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know, like, you couldn't change the whole world around you to look like the animated series, which would have just been the tits. But you got to be that, and it made all the other characters like Catwoman could look like the animated series Catwoman, you know. And even in Night they got to expand that some more, and there's all different kinds and modes, the predator modes, you know. If you want to just do stealth, you can do stealth. You want to do this, you can do this and challenge yourself. You could get so good at it, and there's people that just make Batman videos of just, this is how many hours I've put in, this is what I'm capable of doing now. And I look at what people can do as Batman in those games, and I'm like, I can't even touch that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I think I'm imaginative, but boy, oh boy, what does it take to just be like, when those people go, I'm gonna be Batman, the game lets you be Batman if you put in the effort.
Yeah.
Like, I see people playing that game like the most expert way to play it, and I just wish that I had the time to put in to be that good.
Well, and it rewards you for playing different play styles or really working your own. Like you said, if you're just like, I'm the Batman that goes in and just lays everybody out, you can do that. It's tougher, but you can do that. You know, I'm more of the, I don't want any of them to know I was ever there. They just all slowly disappear. You know, you want to go full ninja? You can go full ninja. And the game will like throw in random stuff. You think you've got it all planned out, but then you forgot that one guy over there, or they upgrade and it's like, oh, they've got the radar guy, and now I've been found out, and now you're just swarmed. You know, it allows you to plan things out, see how well you can execute them, and yet doesn't punish you if things go wrong. It's just a new challenge.
Yeah. And you know, the fights you get into in the streets are different once you get into the missions. And the missions, like when you get dosed with the toxin in Arkham Asylum and you think like Gordon's dead, and your head just starts tripping out. I do want to acknowledge the chat and how many people have been coming in and out of here. So thanks everybody that's been doing this, coming in and out. I know we started a little all over the place, but Yaman Yul Zaman UFO. Cool, I guess. I don't know. Yes, there was an Iron Man game, several of them.
Yeah.
Bill saying Arkham is phenomenal. Ben Dover Jr. says Zoo Tycoon is cool. All right. We have Rob playing one nonstop for a time. Lego Batman, the new one, the Dark Knight game that's coming out.
Look, Lego is its own thing.
And you know what? That's an honorable mention. That's an honorable mention. The Lego Batman games are definitely honorable mention. And people forget, I love the first. Okay, the only thing I don't like about the Lego Batman games is that they overuse the Danny Elfman soundtrack from the first game, and it just runs on a loop. Da, 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 and it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me not like this anymore. But like the first Lego Batman game was, you played it all the way through as Batman, right? And then you got to play it all the way through as the villains in that game. That's something I forgot about going all the way back. And that's like a PlayStation, like one of the early PlayStation 3 games. And now with this Dark Knight game that's coming out, it's going to have like difficulty settings, things like that. This is going to be like it's going to be great. And the Lego Batman, we'll get into that because that's a movie. But that's pretty much like, I think we've nailed like what we think of the games. There's so much room to do things. I mean, we still haven't gotten a proper Superman game. We haven't gotten a proper Wonder Woman game. There are things that they could do. They could make Green Arrow. That wouldn't be that hard. You know, like if you're talking about characters that are a little bit easier to translate, flying is hard. But I mean, the Lego games were able to do it. You could fly around like Gotham as Superman. So come on, if the Lego people at Traveler's Tales can do it, how come it's so hard for everybody?
Well, yeah, and even the ones where they've really expanded and opened it up, and you're like the Justice League. Yeah, you can play any level as any character or character combinations. I mean, honestly, for all of their games, Lego has been an amazing way at not only keeping things interesting from a storyline, but making them completely replayable with different characters and different play styles. Totally fun, and still kind of, again, it's like you don't feel like you've wasted your time. The only downside is, like, if you become a collector, it's like, I'm going to have to replay this 1,000 times to unlock every character.
Lego Batman 3 was basically the Justice League game.
Yeah.
Everybody was in that, and all the villains, and Brainiac, and then they even had the villains game, Lego DC Super Villains, which was another fun thing that was out there. But moving on to, let's do TV shows, because there's still like room for improvement. When I was a kid, you had Batman, the 60s Batman.
Sure.
And I watched it. That was what I was first introduced to Batman as. Sitting there in front of our 3-channel television with UHF. So counting UHF, if you could get UHF channels in,
Sure.
you might have an extra few in there. Like channel 32 was UHF. Like that was the before Fox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as I got older, I was just like, this is lame. This is boring. And then the Batman 89 comes out, right? But that's a different thing. Until then, all you had was like the Super Friends. Super Friends was like, we were happy to have whatever we could get, basically. I remember the Super Friends and being, at the Hall of Justice, star wipe, as they show the Hall of Justice. And all these different characters that I had no idea who they were. I think they even had Adam West and Burt Ward. Burt Ward, I think, were voices that did the voices for it, which gave it a more campiness, and it still was really campy. But it wasn't until, again, like what did they have for DC shows though? There was a Superboy show that was on, like, I think, again, like Fox, was one of early Fox shows. I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I know that it was like, I think some people that really, really love the Superboy show. Of course, George Reeves had, and there was a Batman serial show too, way back in the day.
Way back in the day. Yeah.
And actually, if we want to talk about good things that started, I would probably be the original Superman cartoons. I can't remember who did those that have that style, that Batman the Animated Series kind of adopted. That
it's all rotoscope type stuff. So yeah, they took a lot of human movements and then animated all over that. That's why it's that own real particular look and fluidity.
Fleischer, yes. Fleischer did those original.
Thank you, Bill.
But yeah, like, and then there's like the Adventures of Lois and Clark, which, look, man, Dean Cain. I'm not going to get into what Dean Cain has been up to lately because we don't need to. He's a fucking jerk off. Dean Cain is not a good actor. He only got that job because he looks enough like a Superman type. Terry Hatcher had to carry that show for the guy. She hasn't been known as being one of the most nice people in Hollywood for back when she was popular. And so it's just like, what do we have? We had the cartoons. The cartoons pretty much are the best representation of DC.
Well, I mean, once Batman the Animated Series hit, which came out, originated in prime time, and then it was like Sunday nights originally, and then drifted into a more weekly schedule and such. That was, I mean, I remember when that premiered. I remember being at work and getting able to turn on the TV and stuff and just be like so excited, glued to it. The look, the feel. I mean, Kevin Conroy being introduced as Batman there. I mean, that changed everything. I mean, all of DC's future animation for another, 2 decades were basically just modifications of that Paul Dini style. And yeah, I mean, look, I love the old 66 Batman. That was classic. And I'm old enough. I grew up on reruns of the old George Reeves Adventures of Superman. So, but yeah, that is all kind of cheesy in background. It's like once you get into, Keaton's Batman setting the tone and then the animated series bringing it forward, you got such a unique look and such interesting characters, and you started getting depth behind them and various stories and switch arounds and comic. I mean, it was an amazing thing to get to come home after school and watch that.
Yeah, and Batman the Animated Series is the easy answer. All right,
Oh,
anybody that follows my channel knows that Batman the Animated Series is like the best thing ever. Like, it's the best cartoon, and I love X-Men. X-Men is like my heart, but it's like, it's my favorite, but the best is Batman, and I don't even know how to pick. It's like Sophie's Choice without stakes. Like, which one do I love more? I don't know. I would never, like, if I had to choose which one to give up, that's the thing. Like, if I could never watch one of them ever again, I would have to pick X-Men as to never watch again, because Batman is just so well made across the board. And when I found out Mark Hamill was the Joker, I was like, okay, like, Jedi was 83, less than 10 years later, he's the Joker, and he dropped off the earth to me, right?
Oh yeah, he had popped up in an episode of The Flash.
Yeah,
when they tried to do that as what the
CBS,
whatever that, yeah, I can't remember what the trickster or something like that.
Trickster.
And you're like, oh my God, how far has he fallen? He's on doing this kind of like rip, and then you realize, and honestly, a long time into the series until I realized that was Mark Hamill. And then you're like, he has found his way. Live action didn't work for him. He has found his place.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't care if he ever was Luke Skywalker ever again after that. I didn't care. He was like, oh, he's the Joker, and he's this Joker. He's this good. That laugh. But again, I said it's the easy answer. And if you've noticed, because, I watch HBO on your dime.
Yeah.
We've been watching Justice League. I own Justice League on Blu-ray somewhere. It's I know I own it, but we've been rewatching it, and I forget just how badass that show is. It has some writing and plot problems like anything does, like, wait, why would that stop? But that's not how that works. Like, I could be that guy. And that's why I picked, like, in the thumbnail, that Batman, and put the animated series Batman, and put the Justice League Batman.
Right.
Justice League Batman is so badass. They've given him a slightly different design. Right? He's got the different point, and he doesn't take over the show. They give everybody equal time on that. But
beautiful
as soon as he walks in the room, he is like the guy. It gave us the Wonder Woman Batman relationship that I didn't know I ever wanted. And now, like, when people go, oh, well, that doesn't make sense, I'm like, are you kidding me? Look how they presented it. Look how they did it. It perfectly makes sense. Head canon, regular canon, it doesn't matter. If you like it, if you like how it's presented, it doesn't matter. And watching them develop a relationship over this show was unbelievable. And how they adapted, like, serious stories. Like, from the beginning, they adapted Grant Morrison's New World Order and introduced the White Martians. And it was they turned that story into the origin of the Justice League in like 3 episodes, where we met Martian Manhunter. And for some people, that was their first introduction to Martian Manhunter, with Carl Lumbly's perfect voice as that guy, like, oh, Carl Lumbly. And then you got this was my first real introduction to the Flash. Michael Rosenbaum, Lex Luthor himself is perfectly cast as the wisecracking, like they made him dumb. He was comic relief, but
They
he was
made
kind of
the
the way he
Flash
needed to
in
be.
that show. Yeah.
And like Superman, just like the absolute pillar of goodness, but not like without flaws. And like he was friends with Batman in this instead of like watching Zack Snyder's dark. And look, I'm not trying to shit on Zack Snyder by saying that. I prefer my Batman and Superman as being friends and not treating each other like shit. It was my first introduction to John Stewart as a Green Lantern. I've never really followed Green Lanterns. They're not my favorites.
Sure.
And Hal Jordan, I couldn't give a crap that really, but like it was a black superhero though. And he was a Navy guy, and he also was complicated. When his first storyline is he's basically doing the trial of Reed Richards, where he's being responsible for like billions of deaths, and how the Flash represents him in court, in Galactic Court. And you've got voice actors in this like Kurtwood Smith, Clancy Brown, all these people that are in this show. Like when you go down to who's who that's in like the Justice League show, but like John Stewart wasn't always a nice guy. Like he and then you got Shaira. I didn't know who Hawkgirl was until this show. And they developed that plot over the course of things, like, and it pays off in the first season finale, where, oh my God, like the Hawk people, like spoilers for all of this, folks. If you haven't seen Justice League, this show's from like, these shows are like from like the early 2000s, late 90s. So get on it. But like the fact that she was there to spy and like basically lay plans for all of this. The Lex Luthor stuff, Luthor like dying from kryptonite poisoning and has to wear a suit through the show. Like it was a through line. Like they capture Batman and he mind fucks all of them. He's tied up in a force field and he gets his way. Like he just turns the tables on all these guys. This is just like amazing television, serialized television. And I'm thinking to myself, like, kids got to watch this. There was some dark stuff. Aquaman cuts off his arm. His brother was going to kill his son. Like, he doesn't save his brother. He dies. The woman that was the orphan that the Themyscirians save and turns on them and starts doing heists, and she's just a lady. She dies and blows up. These were like serious stuff on top of like what could be silly stuff. And I'm like thinking, there's nothing still like this on TV. There's a ton of anime. And that's the new thing that's taken over, right? And there's all kinds of serious and adult themes in anime. So I'm not going to say that there aren't things that, challenge the younger generation. But as far as things that are strictly American, or things that kids could watch and get into, I don't think anything touches what they had in the 90s into the early 2000s as far as superhero stuff goes. And
I don't even know if they've got like Saturday morning cartoons anymore at this point. So with like
everything, Fox Kids was like the last holdout.
Well, because I think what we had at the time too is you had kind of a renaissance in animation where you were getting suddenly you could do more serialized drawing. You could start to do more serious stuff because, Batman was able to lay some groundwork, and then you got the Superman series off of that. And then you get Justice League off of that, each one kind of able to build both in styles and then telling storylines and then being able to carry arcs through. And I think it was such a great time, for any comic books, but I think DC really owned this era because you didn't have the effects. The live action stuff still looked cheesy. You had Lois and Clark was basically like a sitcom, really. It was a romantic comedy series. It wasn't really an action show.
Yeah, soap opera.
Yeah, so you could work that kind of soapy thing and just have those moments. And yeah, Superman's somewhat easy because he flies and he's strong. or he stares at thing and it catches fire. I mean, they'd been doing that long enough where those were things that they could kind of they knew how to do it. But for any other effects, animation was really the only place that you could do it. Otherwise, they looked cheesy. You weren't putting the money into it, and you had, look, the old Star Trek Next Generation and then DS9 and stuff like that. That was like the maximum of syndicated special effects that you could do. And some of that was pretty good, but most of it looks dated. But if you really want to get all of the Justice League and actually tell a story, this was the area where you could really start to do that and do, like you said, those serious storylines. Get the really good voice actors in there, people that really invested into it. And yeah, I think it laid the groundwork for what the CW would be able to kind of do in live action afterwards. But this is really where it cut its teeth. And again, I think overall, as much as X-Men 97 was big for people with Marvel, I think DC owned the animation era at this time.
Yeah, and up until I think they've done a little bit too much, making it like Batman, Yakuza Batman, and then a Yakuza Batman 2, and just the judgment that came to Gotham, and then they cover the gothic horror of Cthulhu stuff and Justice League Dark, and they've adapted poorly some things. They've done pretty good on other things, but they had it. They knew where while they were making movies, they kept making their animation while Marvel just kept lagging behind with stuff that nobody wanted to talk about as far as their animation goes.
Well, and I think with the DC animated movies, that's when the quality really started to drop down. Like you said, there's some decent ones, but a lot of those are just like, it's a decent adaptation, but your animation sucks. Yeah. And I think that really affected them. But I think they were able to step into the live action stuff with CW that became its own particular bit. Yeah. Did you watch a lot of the Arrowverse at the time?
I was about to get into this. Mm-hmm. Just real quick, I want to say hi again to the chat, to Xenia Maomora. Hello. Kashinga 4P, R4P. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the channel. As always, and Devra and Bill are here. Yes, I would be remiss if we didn't cover, because there's Smallville, Arrow, Flash, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning. Is that it?
Oh, no, yeah. Batgirl in there. You had Supergirl that started on NBC, came over to CW. You had...
That's 7. And I just... And that's like the Arrowverse, though. Just wanted to cover
I think the Tyler Hoechlin Superman is technically in that, even though it's like a side universe thing.
Yeah. Okay, so because this is like a mixed bag, man.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I want to acknowledge though, Smallville was, first they got Mark Snow composing their music. I'm going to start with that because it's the X-Files connection, and everything goes back to the X-Files eventually. And I did kind of like the monster of the week and a powerful person affected by kryptonite. I thought Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor is right up there with Clancy Brown's animated Lex Luthor. Michael Rosenbaum was fantastic on that show. And yeah, they all turn into soap operas. They all turn into Who's in Love with Fucking Who, and every single one of them. And I know that the older I get, the less these things are targeted towards me, but I still find things to like about all of them. And Smallville, again, being a Canadian production, again, a lot of those people worked on the X-Files. A lot of those people, they are some of the best people in the business in Canada making these shows that even if I don't like them, they make the hell out of them and they make them look good. They can make Canada look like anywhere. The season 2 finale of the X-Files, where he's supposed to be in this like red desert in Arizona or New Mexico. They figured out how to do that in Canada. And every show has been able to like make their cities like in Canada look like American cities. They still do it today. And so there's that to go about it. They did some pretty fun stuff, and there was some pretty dark stuff in there. And I think Smallville's early days, like at least that first season, for that, I think the first season of Arrow and the second, a lot of people say the second season of Arrow, but I felt like that plot with Deathstroke just went on too, like it
dragged on a little long, but I think together they're still pretty solid. Yeah.
And there's always been some fun stuff. I watched a lot of Arrow until I couldn't take the relationship stuff anymore. I was like, I don't care. It was like, and there was way too many heroes and characters. We're not here to shit on it. I'm just saying, like, the beginnings of these shows, like Flash's first season was fantastic. Tom Cavanaugh as Reverse Flash was really, really good. They have a good way of setting the stage, but then it becomes popular and they milk it for all it's worth. And then they ruin it because every year it's, can I run this? I don't know if I can run that fast, man. Oh, wait, I can.
Run, Barry. Run.
Barry, run.
Hey,
so
Doc.
I'm going to pick something that's weird. My favorite of the Arrowverse stuff was DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Not that you were going to go that way.
Yeah, because it was so weird and it dealt with Time Lord basically stuff, like Doctor Who stuff. They put a bunch of characters together, put them in a ship, and they start going through time. And, you know, you've got Victor Garber in there, who is just classing up the joint, you know.
Like, wow.
Like, why is Victor Garber here? You had the girl who was, all I knew was that she was on Mad Men as like Don Draper's not really niece. And I was like, oh, she's good in this. She's a really good actress. And they basically had Colossus. They had a Colossus character on that show. Marvel couldn't do that.
Yeah.
With X-Men. Yeah. They put this guy they showed him in the metal all the time. Colossus is in X-Men for probably less than a minute for all the movies. So that was cool. And the plots were awesome. And people would come and go and revisit. You know, you had the Prison Break brothers in there as like Dominic, it was just weird and fun. You know, Jonah Hex. It was like Justice League Unlimited, basically, in a way, where we got to see all these other characters. I never watched Black Lightning because I stopped watching network TV by then. I never finished Arrow. I never finished Flash. I couldn't watch Supergirl after I think I watched the first season of that, and that just never hooked me. Because again, they made everything a soap opera. But I do think that all of those shows started pretty good. They all had solid first seasons. But DC's Legends of Tomorrow is my favorite. Which one is your favorite out of those?
Well, I didn't watch Smallville really. That was kind of in my period. I was like, I don't really want to watch a soap opera Superman series. I kind of drifted away from Superman for a while. I've come to appreciate him more in more recent years. I was a big fan as a kid. Then everybody falls in love with Batman. I've gotten to appreciate Superman a bit more as I've gotten older. So I didn't really care about Superman at the time. Yeah, that first pilot episode of Arrow hooked me immediately because, I mean, yeah, they kind of Batmaned him out, but I was there for that. And he was violent. He was killing people. He was very physical. They had a lot of parkour stuff going on. That was like at the height of the parkour, the Ninja Warrior salmon ladder going on in his lair, you know. It was, they really, I think, did put an edge on that show that was refreshing. And then, yeah, they were able to spin off towards Flash, and that you're right, that was good for the first few seasons. All of them good for the first few seasons. I think Legends actually picked up after its first season. I think its second, third, fourth were probably its better ones once they embraced the just kind of let's go nuts about it. You know, the first season they like actually tried to have like a serious plot, and then they realized no, at this point I think all of the shows had gotten a little too serious, and this was the first to realize, hey, let's just go nuts. And I think that's when it kind of hit its heyday. But yeah, at that point, I drifted away. Ooh, there was Stargirl, I think, was on for
Oh
a
yeah,
while
is that the one with
too.
Luke Wilson?
Yeah, but no, at that point, it had gotten to be too much. They all felt very repetitive. And again, there is a limit to what a TV series on the WB that's trying to do like 22 episodes a season, their effects budget, even in this day and age, is going to be limited. And after a while, I'm just like, I don't want to see the bodega version of the Flash here, the 5th iteration, because you've got to keep adding new Flashes every season in order to get that interesting, or, you know, all the other sub characters and so on. So I think, and I never watched the stuff that was on, was it CBS All Access, I think at the time, where you had Titans and Swamp Thing and Doom Patrol. So sorry, folks, I'm not going to go into any of those because I didn't watch any of them.
Okay. Well, I mean, all right. But first I will, Arrow, I forgot. Dude was like straight up killing people. That first season of Arrow was really, really good. The second, I watched it again. I want to be clear. I watched all these shows for a while. I fell off of Smallville only because I don't think I wasn't watching as much TV back then. But once Arrow started, I watched that every season up until near the end. And then Flash, I stuck with that at least 3 seasons. But you're right, DC's Legends of Tomorrow did have like that kind of like serious tone, and then just again, they had relationship stuff, but the plots, it was all about the stories more than that. They actually spent more time on all that other stuff. Like I noticed the formula for all these shows is actually figure out and solve the problem with like 10 or 12 to 15 minutes of before the show's actually over. Other shows like that did like the cliffhangers constantly, like Lost, right? That kept you hooked all the way through to the end. And then you're like, it's over. Fuck. CW shows that always ended with, let's just now get into the relationship, and we'll start playing that crappy music from I'm Sorry, from that era. That music was terrible. A lot. Look, it's all subjective, right? But like subjectively also, it's not as good as a lot of music that came out. But they would play the most popular song, and Clark, whether it's Lana and Clark in his barn, and they just spend all that time just doing all the soap opera stuff. And it happened in every single one of those shows. It didn't matter. They would catch the guy, and that's when the shows would end. Television shows, you catch the bad guy. They don't have like an epilogue. They stop, they cut, they move on to the next episode. Maybe a little bit of a bumper, like a little bit of something at the end, like where it wouldn't just completely end. But like, that's weird structure. It was like, okay, we've given the boys all they want. Now we got to give the girls what they want. And that's, again, they're just trying to make money. It's not against girls or boys. It's just how they did it. They wanted to get that target audience hooked.
It's how they get their serialization. The adventure ends, but it's the emotional stuff that is the cliffhanger from week to week.
Yeah, like who are they getting? Are they going to still be dating next week? Oh my God. Now we all like the stuff that you're talking about, Titans, Swamp Thing, which I think I heard good things about Swamp Thing.
Oh, I heard good stuff.
Nobody gives a shit about Swamp Thing. And he's Alan Moore wrote some really great comics with Swamp Thing, but it was just a hard to translate character, I guess. I probably love it. I need to watch it one of these days. Doom Patrol. This was the era where they all were like, "Oh, we can swear."
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this, where it's like, just because you can doesn't mean that every other word out of your character's mouth should be fuck, shit, cocksuck, like whatever. And when I heard Robin go, fuck Batman, I'm like,
Yeah, I
no,
was
fuck
about to
you.
say.
I was like, no, fuck you, kid. I know what you're trying to do, show. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to get the kids to say fuck Batman. Nobody should be saying fuck Batman. That is not how you gain an audience. That is for the people that have been who hurt. If you have daddy issues, okay, that's who that was for. Somebody's like, I want to fight my dad. We all want to fight our dads, all right? But not every dad is Batman. So you're not going to get me to watch the show. I did watch Doom Patrol, and I thought that show started to get better as it went along. But it's still, and Alan Tudyk was on there. So
Sure.
I love Alan Tudyk. So as the bad guy, fantastic. Brendan Fraser's comeback after, like, he was able to capture, whoever was wearing the helmet, whether it was Fraser or somebody else. It was great to see him back. It was great to see a bunch of weird characters that I'd never heard of before. You had Timothy Dalton on there. It was really, really weird. And I did appreciate Doom Patrol actually a lot. And I wish I had gone back and finished that show. But it was the strongest of those shows. And I know that there was even more, because what I've found is like how many people love Teen Titans or Titans, depending on whoever's writing the book or however they want to age up the characters for the comic run that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
People love the Teen Titans. People love the animated Teen Titans show that I never really got into. But I'm glad that they love it. I'm glad that they have this show. Like again, you have to, like, if you watch every single one of those things and you say you love them all, I can't, that's just too much. I'm trying to think of other shows that they did other side of, because we have Peacemaker. We don't really need to talk about Peacemaker. I think Peacemaker is a mixed bag. I think the first season's fantastic. And I think that it's a really strong show.
Mm-hmm.
But out of all of this, it's still the animated shows that hit the hardest. That to me will stand the test of time more than maybe not, I think shows like Smallville and Arrow will stick around, especially Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of this stuff will end up getting, when we're gone and moved on, like those will be the things that people still talk about are those shows.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Speaking of Teen Titans Go, freaking love that show. It was great for kids. It's got amazing characters. I think it's awesome. A surprising find that I ran into was Young Justice, which is kind of like the more serious version on that. They did a couple of seasons on that. And I stumbled into that because I was like, oh, I don't care about watching this.
I know.
I got so hooked on the whole thing.
That's my bad. That is the thing that I overlooked. I forgot about Young Justice. Yeah. That is a really good show. It is the closest to trying to recapture the old Justice League feels, because you did have a lot of those people return, and were in the mentor roles.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it's very hard to do that next generation thing that doesn't feel very ham-handed or very tropey or very like, well, in the back, the adults are gone, so now the kids got to step in and do it. It's especially when you love the older characters, it's sometimes hard to watch that handoff. But this was done, I think, in such a great, serious way with actual conflicts and problems and issues and things that everyone was coming on. I realized it's like, wow, I want to know what these kids are going to do because I'm actually interested in their storylines. Like, to me, it's not they're going to replace the old heroes. It's like, these are just new people that are coming into the field and let's see what their stories are going. And it's So it was really refreshing to kind of get pulled into it without feeling like I was having to sacrifice my old characters because now we have new versions of them.
Yeah, and it's important to introduce new characters and stuff for new generations. It's just that's how it's supposed to be. You know,
Yeah.
you can only just keep riding that. Like, we've seen so many of the same stories go over and over and over and over and over again. You gotta bring some new blood in.
And so I was trying to see if I could find it up here. Also, shout out to Batman Batman Beyond. Thank you. I was about to say Batman Begins. And
Batman Beyond.
Oh, the music in Batman Beyond was freaking incredible. And again, perfect way to keep Kevin Conroy there as old Batman and make him a badass, and yet still have new characters and storylines. Yeah.
And when I hear people talk about that, there could be like a Batman Beyond live action, and nobody and people don't think it's a good idea, and people bring up like, this is how you get Michael Keaton to be old Bruce Wayne. Like, that would be perfect.
Sure.
He's old enough. He could be the guy in the cave. He doesn't have to run around and do all that stuff. He can just be the guy that just shows up and you're like, yeah. I mean, come on. Michael.
With a giant Great Dane next to him. Like, oh, he could just barely move, but he could throw out like some badass move at any moment. Yeah.
Make a Batman Beyond movie. You set up the world. Second Batman Beyond movie. Return of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got to do.
Oh, okay. Look, man. Sorry, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that flashback scene in Return of the Joker, I had that speech memorized for the longest time when Joker finally reveals that he knows. He's just like, oh, and the secrets he shared with me. And like a kid opening his present on Christmas morning, it was just so anticlimactic. I mean, it was just, and just Hamill chewed. Sorry, I can't do him justice, but Mark Hamill just chewed those lines up so beautifully, man. Oh, it still gives me chills seeing that was how Joker gets killed.
Yeah.
It's
mwah.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere. I wasn't the biggest Batman Beyond fan, mostly because I just didn't have a chance to watch a lot of it.
Sure.
It was a Saturday morning cartoon and I worked. And Blu-rays and DVDs were still like, they didn't have collections and things were expensive as hell. When you tried to
had to learn to program your VCR through cable at that point, which was just a pain in the ass thing.
I had tapes. I had tapes of the stuff that I just put it on record and leave the house. And then I'd come back and like watch what was left on there, and Batman Beyond would be on there sometimes. So we've covered now the shows. I think we did a good job. I think we've managed to pretty much nail or hit everything as close as we can. Now I want to get to comics.
All right.
Comics are my heart. There's a lot of heart. I have a lot of hearts. Apparently, they're all over my body. So if you shoot me in one, I have like 100 more. I was never a big DC Comics reader. I tried several times. The only thing that ever stuck was Batman. So I read Batman in the late 80s, Detective Comics, Shadow of the Bat, all of them, every one of them. I had every issue of Nightfall, and watched the Batman get broken by Bane. And there's been a ton of amazing Batman stories, and that's all really easy for me to go. But I tried Superman, couldn't do it. Tried Wonder Woman, I just couldn't get into it. So everybody talks about Watchmen, the comic book, and Alan Moore's a crazy fuck. I don't care. But I can separate the art from the artist here and go like Watchmen and V for Vendetta are two of my favorite books I've ever read. From Hell is dense and by dense, I mean like really dense. It's like reading a novel in comic book form where not a lot happens all the time. It's just a lot of people talking.
Mhm.
But V for Vendetta and Watchmen are just two absolutely great representations of what you can do with that medium. I don't know how you feel about the Watchmen comic. It's been talked about to death
Yeah.
by so many people. The themes of it are universal, even back then. Talking about 5 minutes to midnight, especially in our world right now. And I don't want to get too heavy into our world and comparisons right now. Not because we can't, but because it
Well,
just pisses me off.
well, but it's a reflection of the old doomsday clock, which, you know, they still talk about now. Is it's the same type of kind of idea. It's just obviously with Watchmen, it's a much more heightened thing because it's not just nuclear things that you have to worry about.
But I was rewatching today. I started watching the animated version of Watchmen,
Mhm.
and then I started watching Zack Snyder's thing. And rewatching it without reading the comic, it's like they both really capture moments of it, but it's so cynical and so dark and pessimistic about the world that as much as I love it, it's just like, oh, I can only take so much of it at a time.
Sure.
V for Vendetta, though, like I wanted to make a whole video of us talking about V for Vendetta.
And there still might be one. Keep your eyes
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, because that's the Wachowski brothers, and the fact that I'd never seen a comic book movie like that. This wasn't superheroes. This wasn't about superheroes. This wasn't the deconstruction of superheroes. It was just a story about fighting fascism, you know, and this is a very British story, but it also is a universal story
Sure.
of fighting back against oppressive regimes in the world, with this story that made me learn more about history. I didn't know who Guy Fawkes was before this movie came out, or before I read the book too. And how great the transition is on that. But I don't know where you stand with like DC Comics and stuff, but since I never really was able to get into that, it took all these years later for me to finally become more of a DC fan and become more of a fan for all these a lot of these characters in the last few years when DC announced the Absolute Universe.
Sure.
Been reading Batman forever, but they announced, you know, Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Absolute Martian Manhunter, more to come. And, you know, it was this, like, Marvel had just put out their new Ultimate Universe, which was, people were loving Ultimate Spider-Man. It was like oh my God, I've been wanting this Spider-Man back since I was reading Peter Parker as an adult in the 80s and early 90s. You had a new Black Panther story that like was also a Moon Knight story and a Storm story, and it was flipping a lot of things on its head, and it was more action. It was like action, and the art was fantastic. You got Peach Momoko doing Ultimate X-Men that had like nothing to do with anything that seemed to be going on in any of the universes, but like the art was so beautiful, and the fact that she did every issue of this book, and everybody was hyping on that. And then Absolute Universe gets announced, and I'm like, okay. Oh, and then I found out how hard immediately. I didn't think this is how dim sometimes I can be. I didn't think that getting my hands on the first copy of Absolute Batman was going to be hard.
Sure.
Like, why would it be? This is going to be a book that they'll have like stacks of. Wrong. It blew out, and I think, okay, I didn't spend a ton on it. I think I spent like $11. But it was because it was like I was right in. I was like, oh shit. Oh, right before the prices took off. I found someone that had like a cheap $10 copy where I'm like, oh, thank God. And you know, I have like, yeah, all of them. I Absolute Batman is like, yeah, Absolute Superman. That okay? So, Absolute Batman is, this is gonna get where it gets really nerdy, folks. Okay, because Darren's not as like big of a comic book fan as I am, so just bear with me. Because I
All
think I know.
Rob now.
Yeah, all right, like Absolute Batman by Scott Snyder and Dragata, who his art is fantastic, and you saw a bit in the intro, just a second. Absolute Superman by Jason Aaron. I got to meet Jason Aaron at Comic-Con or C2E2 last year. This is not the signed one. I had him sign the only copy of this he had at his booth because I didn't bring this with me because I didn't know I was going to be talking to Jason Aaron. Absolute Green Lantern, a whole new way to look at Green Lanterns. And this whole universe is basically built by Darkseid. There's no heroes. It's all doom and gloom, created by him for his own secret purposes, and how somehow these heroes start coming. So you got Absolute Flash, who's Wally West and not Barry Allen.
He's got more personality. Yep.
But all of these books have like, this is Al Ewing, who's been killing it for Marvel people since the freaking Hulk book. Why can't I remember what it was called? The Immortal Hulk, who's been killing it over on Marvel. So you got Al Ewing on this. You got Jeff Lemire on Flash, who's another just fantastic writer. Dennis Camp, who's doing Absolute Martian Manhunter with Javier Rodriguez. Good luck finding copies of this at your local shop. This book is crazy. He uses like pages where you have to hold it up to the light to see an extra image that's hidden from you. Like, they're doing crazy. The art in this is the star of the show. Dennis Camp is telling this amazingly new way of looking at Martian Manhunter, and it's about to end, and they're going to do some more stuff. But like, Dennis Camp is like the writer right now, other than like Chip Zdarsky, Scott Snyder, Jonathan Hickman, guys like that caliber. And then you have Absolute Wonder Woman, Kelly Thompson, and Sherman, and another artist on here, where all these characters have these new like origin stories that were so new that I finally was able to jump on. I didn't just jump on for FOMO or anything. I read an issue and realized, oh my God, I want this. Why I love starting at the beginning of something where they're just taking it in a whole new direction. Batman's not a billionaire. Batman is working class. His dad's a teacher. They don't get killed in Crime Alley. What happens is his dad is killed involving a mass shooter. His mom is still alive. Alfred's still working for the government, and he's like a super spy. Like, he's friends with all the villains as he's growing up. Like, these are people that he knew before, because he was a street kid. He was living, like Tompkins, he became all this after the fact. He had to become this like thing. And Absolute Superman, again, parents, working class people, scientists that people didn't want to believe. He was taught, like, he got to spend time with his parents. This is not a Superman who's just a baby. He got to see what happened to Krypton. He got to see what happened to his parents for believing in things. And he's sent here after the fact and is seeing our world and the oppression that's in it. Wonder Woman. She's
badass.
She's not just some Amazon from Themyscira who's, just royalty. Absolute Wonder Woman was raised in hell and taught magic. And so she's got abilities, but she's also like Doctor Strange. So when she comes to Earth and she's fighting giant, like huge, like monsters from other dimensions, she's using magic and stuff. Her Pegasus is like a bone thing. It's Kelly Thompson's writing is fantastic and changes like all the way that she handles things. But at its heart, she is still Diana. At the heart, he's still Bruce Wayne. At the heart, it is still Superman. And all those other books have all that stuff too. And it's not just a great jumping on point, but they are telling stories right now that are really hitting hard for everybody out there, I think, that reads comics. It's not just hitting because of action and things like that. It is showing things about empathy that we need in this world. You know, Batman kicks a lot of butt, but he's also like realizing that he's responsible for things that Batman, in regular universe pushes down and a lot of times ignores, or just maybe he knows it's there but he doesn't talk about, like how he helped create his villains. And this, he really does help create the people that would become his villains, but he's trying to fix things, he's trying to make things right. And I'm gonna do something that I haven't really done here, so I'm gonna share my screen here so that I'm gonna let Scott Snyder tell us himself in this thing. And if I get copyrighted for it, then I get copyrighted for it. But I did put the copyright thing in there. All right. And I'm going to press play. And it's just like a minute 30.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hopefully we can get this to work.
By the way, Deborah really wants you to go back to doing your comic stuff. Share these on your comic internal screaming.
All right. Is it not showing up? I don't know if it's popping up.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. All right. I think everything is calmed down. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to start it over. Press play.
Hey guys, it's Scott. I just wanted to say thank you so much. I can't wait for you to check city is different. It's a city of extremes. Like his allies are everything is different. It makes me feel so energized and refreshed. And All In is an initiative that's about everybody taking their biggest swing at once, reminding everybody and celebrating how awesome superhero comics are, and giving you every kind of superhero story, from like the classic to the radically new. And my biggest swing with Nick was this book. It was the scariest thing I could do going back to Batman. It was different. Like, it was the thing I thought I would never do, but I couldn't love this book more. I'm so excited for you to read it.
Okay, I tried. I wanted to try. I think you could probably hear what Scott was saying more than anything. You're muted.
Yeah, there was a little lag in the beginning, but I think we got the middle and end there mostly. That's what I saw, at least. Who knows what's going to be on the final stream? We're trying a lot.
Yeah, I'm always trying maybe too much. I'm a little too ambitious to make some of this stuff work, as we've got a lot of stuff going on. But I think we can at least hear it in Scott's voice of what they're trying to do. And it's now, and I'm going to do another video just myself about the ultimate universe and the absolute universe comparison, and how I feel about that comparison to these books. But like, they're still going. They've already had an event that happened that just ended with DCKO, where the absolute characters fight the regular universe characters through Darkseid and the bigger plans and how those things are going to tie in. Marvel didn't do that. This isn't concerned with events. This is concerned about good storytelling and creating a world that a series of books that I think are way more important than what Marvel's doing with the Ultimate series. I've already talked about like how like what's the best book, and everybody talks about Absolute Batman being the best book of the series. It is the most fun, it's the most known character, it's the easiest for an audience member to get into, because who doesn't know Poison Ivy, who doesn't know Mr. Freeze, who doesn't know the Joker?
Right.
But a lot of people don't know as much about like some of the other Superman or Wonder Woman or Green Lantern stuff if you're a lay person, right? If you're just a regular ass person, it's harder. But like when I'm reading Absolute Wonder Woman, I'm not thinking, God, I wish this was as good as Absolute Batman. There's an annual they just put out. The art for that is so good. And what Wonder Woman does is fight for people. She is fighting for people. It doesn't matter if they're the bad guys or the good guys. In the annual, she used somebody's powers without like she kind of borrowed somebody's powers, a villain from like Greek mythology. And when she took that person's powers, she saw their history and realized that this person may have done something bad, but their crime didn't fit the punishment. And she spends the whole issue fixing this thing, this curse that like this person has had for centuries, untold time, and has to convince that person that she's on the level, that she is not there to fight or hurt. She is there to save her, to give her another chance. Absolute Superman, I've talked to you about 15, almost bringing me to tears, because it's through all the fighting, and his first enemy is Ra's al Ghul, a Batman villain who wants to pound him and make him, instead of Batman, his son. He's going to be the new demon, and how he won't. He's coming to destroy Smallville, not Metropolis, and how he stands up for all of it. And all I'm thinking is, oh my God, like this is the Superman that I've been wanting to read my whole life. If I had this when I was a kid, I would have read Superman. But instead, all I had was the typical stuff of, oh, he's just the Boy Scout, and he's so good. And I think Dark Knight Returns might have muddied the waters a little bit for me too, because I was like, Superman's working for the government in that book. He's the sanctioned by Reagan and everything.
Well, I think you get an opportunity when you take chances like this and you do kind of big reinventions. Is a character's birthed in its origin story and you develop it. So many of these characters really have grown and developed on their own, far beyond what their original origin story, their original manifestation was. And it's very cool as you talk about this, because to me, these are people that really understand these characters, that really have a clear vision and drive of these characters, and then tries to give them an origin story befitting of those traits, as opposed to trying to fit that into the previous mold. I mean, sometimes this works for people, sometimes it doesn't, but it's a great study of understanding character when people can do this and pull it off. Because Batman is Batman, whether his parents were killed in an alley or not, because he's a certain way. So maybe we can tweak this. Superman has a very particular point of view. What happens if you tweak all of that? I love the idea with Wonder Woman, because I think she's one of those characters that can morph and see where is the drive here? What is Diana fighting for? Is it love? Is it humanity? Is it, truth, justice in the American way? No, that's Superman. It's like, especially when you start getting away from some of the real iconic singular characters. Everyone knows Superman's. Not a lot of people know what Wonder Woman's motivation is. And I think you could really get such great storytelling when you have, writers and artists now that have loved these characters for ages and are like, I have a firm view and understanding of this character. Let's do something different to make that, the cornerstone. And I think that's sounds like what they've really been able to accomplish with the Absolute series here.
Yeah. And like the Ultimate series, I mean, this has a shelf life. This is going to end at some point. And it's gonna suck when it does, but it's but while they're doing it, you can tell that they're doing it. They're not slowing down. There's still got
Right.
tons of stories to tell, and when it's over, I think it'll be a little bit, hopefully, more satisfying than what's been going on with the other side of this. Um, and why they were doing it, and what's the future of that, and do people even want any more of that anymore? But like with this, I think this is going to be a lot harder for people to let go of, because for some of us, like me, I don't want to jump back into the other universe and read Superman and Wonder Woman. As fine as I know some of those books are and are loved by so many people, and I'm glad they do. But this is my DC, like now, like, and as long as it's going on, they've got me and they hooked me, and I'm glad, because now I finally get to be like a DC fan, just for like for different purposes, like finding something that, and that just shows, like in comics, there's something for everyone, and the art at the same time. I don't even think I really got into it, but every book is just gorgeous in its own way. And I can't say the same about the Marvel stuff. I just can't. In fact, I would rather read, if I stopped reading Marvel right now and just read that, I'd be fine. I don't really feel like I'm missing out as much on that side as if I don't read that. I feel like I am missing out every week. Every time there's an issue, I would have to be like, oh crap. I don't even read all of them. I stopped collecting Flash and I stopped collecting Green Lantern, mostly because of financial stuff. And I'm like, I can always pick it up in the trades later along the way. But what I did read was fantastic. I mean, Gorilla Grodd is not some giant gorilla in this. He's just a little ape that's got little smarts on him. Like, he's smart. They flip all of that. And so that was what I really wanted to hit with the comic side of things, is not the history and what's been my favorite thing of DC's throughout the years, but what, like, for me is right now. I don't know if you have any favorite comics from DC yourself.
Not really. I mean, I've always been much more of a animation live action person. You know, as kids, I checked out comics and I had friends that were comics, so I would always steal those. The problem that I ran into early on is I hated the quick teases. I'd get part of a storyline, then I'd have to wait, and not having a comic book shop around me, it was what's going to be at the 7-Eleven. And so it ended up being more of a frustrating journey for me as a kid. It wasn't until later on when you could really just buy, like, you know, the whole graphic novels that will have, you know, the entire, storylines all at once. That was great. And if I did read anything back in the day, it would have been X-Men.
Yeah.
You know, again, as much as I love Batman, the comics weren't really what pulled it from me. It was all of the other source material that really gave me my love of Batman.
Yeah. All right. I think then we can now transition to the final step here, which is the movies. Okay. This one's much easier. And now you can, you have a much more bigger role to play. I thank you for your indulgence in me talking about comics, because I could have got.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
So, but look out for the Ultimates, the Ultimate Universe, Absolute Universe video that I'm going to make very soon. So check that out on the channel coming up. So now, yes, the movie side of things. This is where there's a lot to cover, because there is a lot of bad here, in my opinion.
Sure.
Because I mean, I remember seeing the original Superman when it came out. I didn't get to go to the theater because I think that was from like 1978.
78 or 79, yeah.
So I was like 3, 4. So I didn't see it until we were in our trailer on a tiny TV on ABC with commercials. But the first time I saw it, I mean, it blew me away. Now, over the years, and I still love that first movie. I think that there were diminishing returns for me immediately, even as a kid, because I didn't know who Zod was. I don't know why these people look the way they look. They black outfits. They looked like I don't know what I was supposed to be seeing. Open chest, Terrence
Space
Stamp.
disco, man. The future was
Yeah.
space disco.
Superman gives up his powers for Lois, and as adults that were watching that, I'm sure it was a much bigger deal. I just remember really liking Gene Hackman immediately, and so I get, hey Silver Surfer, what if you're late? You can always rewatch it from the beginning and see the madness that goes on here. We are doing good, but I know that like Christopher Reeve holds this like huge place in everybody's hearts, but they are not like my favorite things. It's like the first Superman movie is like so classic that it's like Citizen Kane. Whether you like it or not, it's the thing that kind of got started. You will believe a man can fly.
Right.
And
that's
they
what I was
did. They
thinking of.
delivered on that. They really did. And Christopher Reeve is so charming. And Gene Hackman, Gene and Chris are now both gone. Margot's gone. I think Ned's gone. I think almost everybody from that cast is gone, except for the girl who played Lana, who was the mom on Smallville. I think that's about it. Perry White, he's gone. He was a little rascal, right? Ford,
Jimmy Olsen's still around.
Jimmy Olsen. Oh yeah, Artie McFly's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still around. But that basically that whole and that's just scared me now saying it out loud. It was like, holy shit, they're all gone.
You're all dead, baby. Time marches on, you bastards.
That wasn't that long ago. Why are they all gone? We're not talking about people from the 60s or the 50s anymore. We're talking about people that were in the 80s. They're all gone. Oh! To be fair, Gene lived into the 90s. So
sure.
There, but we won't go into that. And the easy answer for me is like of best of DC is like, if I don't say Batman 89, I'm being a liar. But it's also the easy answer. I've seen Batman 89. I lost track a long, long time ago. A long, long time ago. I love Batman and Batman Returns pretty much equally. I think that there's only a couple of moments in Batman Returns that I can't watch, mostly due to how gross Danny DeVito is in that movie. So I'm discounting that because it's just so easy. It changed my life. The trailer for Batman, seeing that trailer for the first time and for many times before it came out, to the point where I thought I'd get sick of it. It really was. It was the first score. I bought a score for a movie because of Danny Elfman's thing. I bought that one and Batman Returns score. I bought the Danny Elfman best of because of that. So it did a lot of things for me. It opened up comic books for me. Batman 89 changed my life in that respect. But I want to talk more about because again, that's just easy. But I want to talk about more about maybe the more last 20 years.
Sure. Let me jump in real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I still remember I saw Batman opening night here in I was living in the West Side, so I was in Westwood, California, here just outside of UCLA. When those big, gigantic old theaters, it was like the Fox Theater, I think it was. And I still remember you had to stand in line to buy your tickets, was around the block, got in, opening show, full theater. I mean, you know, there'd be people standing if they allowed people to stand in this. Everybody blown away. The biggest memory I had was that final shot when the Batwing pops up and hits in front of the moon, and we get the actual Batman logo. The entire crowd just going, yeah! I mean, it was such a visceral thing. And yes, I grew up on the old 66 Batman series. Love that. That has a thing in its heart. We had Superman where, yeah, Christopher Reeve was amazing, but it definitely was diminishing returns. 3 was kind of a joke and nobody really watched 4 at all. And we had Mr. Mom coming in as Batman, and the guy who did the other guy who did Beetlejuice directing, and what the heck we were going to see. And it changed everything, because you could see, you could have a gritty hero. You could take this seriously as much as you could say that about Batman 89. It really did open the doors to what was possible to do with these heroes. And of course, obviously put, you know, Batman on top for DC for like freaking ever after that. So yeah, I mean, it was such a game changer. And again, I just here all these years later, just still clearly see that image in my mind. Freaking amazing.
Yeah, I gotta go back on that. I can't discount it. I have to like embrace it. I don't know why I'm trying to be like that, because again, and I'm not trying to diss like Christopher Reeve either. Like, again, these things are classics. They're classics for a reason.
But Returns was great, and Batman Forever kind of got cheesy, and then you hit Batman and Robin, and you're just like, well, they killed Batman just like they did with Superman.
Yeah, they went too far. They went too campy. They tried to have too many villains. All the things that they get trapped into because they're just greedy companies.
We got a 4-quadrant, baby. The kids got to come. We got to have the Happy Meal. Big mistake. Look up Happy Meal for Batman Returns and how that was received, people. That movie was not made for Happy Meal toys.
No. I think the best way to watch like the first is watching Superman and Superman 2. I think they have a super cut of the Donner cut for Superman 2, but I want to see a combination of like, I could sit in the theater and probably watch both Superman and Superman 2 if they were one movie, because that's what they were supposed to be.
They were one movie. Yeah, that's why.
And I could watch a super cut of those two mixed together, and I think I would have a different perspective of it. Because I love how long they showed such a great origin of Superman in that. I don't want any it's just looking back, I at the limitations they had and everything. When it came out, it changed everything. Same as Batman 89. I just don't have the same attachment to Superman as I do Batman. And
sure.
I here's just memories. Like, it was the first videotape I ever owned. It was Batman, and it was special. And I watched it to death. I had to go to work as a kid during the summer. Me and my sister, without saying why, we had to go to work at my grandfather's. He worked as a printer for a small company, and they had collating, and we were supposed to walk around a table for hours. Putting a piece of paper. We just walk around that table, and the only way I got through it was by playing the entire movie of Batman in my head from start to finish for hours, because I could, because the movie lived up here, and it still lives up here. I could probably, if everybody was really patient, I'm not going to put anyone through this, but I probably could recreate the entire movie pretty much for everybody as a one-man fucking show. Like, I could just do it. And that's how I got through it. And that's the level it was at. That's why I don't even know, like, when you see a movie once and you have it in your brain, how do you really know how many times you've watched it at that point when you can recall it at will? But yeah, it had Jack Nicholson,
Mm-hmm.
who, I mean, look, he gave us he's not as good as Hamill. He's not as good as Ledger. But at the time, it was the Joker. It was incredible. He had the laugh down. He had the darkness down. Jack Palance in that. And oh my, like, what was he say? Like, he was
You
like,
are the number one
guy. It's just like, what the, like, they had Acme Chemicals, Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne is fantastic. Michael Gow is Alfred. It's even what's his nuts who played Arliss couldn't ruin that. Robert Wool. He couldn't ruin that movie. He couldn't ruin that movie despite him being, what is he doing here?
Like, why is he here?
Why is he here? But like the fake commercials that they had that he preempt, and he's doing the Joker commercials. He has the punching bag that punches the screen. It's all cheesy and campy when you really look at like what's going on. But it was fantastic. And yes, as Silver's pointing out, the Prince soundtrack, fucking Prince. I had that soundtrack.
That was like top billing for so freaking long. I can't remember how long that soundtrack was on. Yeah.
We lived near Six Flags Great America here in Illinois, and they had the Batman ride shortly after. You get in line, they'd be playing the soundtrack while you're in line. The Batman Returns, or the Batman score, was that image of the bat plane going in front of the moon just for the score. The classic one just had the big bat symbol, which, I mean, the first time, okay, I know you have this memory of when the credits start playing and the buildup of that music, the and goosebumps, man, goosebumps, just as it's going around and around, and like you get to the cover and it flips up, and they did the same thing with Returns in a very clever way. Which, I mean, come on, Returns. Christopher fucking Walken is the real villain of that movie. He kills it. He kills people and he kills it. The winter setting, the just disgusting penguin performance, like Danny DeVito, he went for it.
It's such a twisted film, man. It's like nobody, and then you've got like Michelle Pfeiffer coming in as just, I mean, everybody was into leather immediately. Leather, vinyl, that was like everyone's kink immediately after that.
She knew how to use the whip. They show, like, if you've ever watched the behind the scenes where she's
doing that
off of it, like, amazing. And yes, it was way darker than the first movie, and I didn't think they could go that dark. But just, and they had the Susie and the Banshees music. He, like, that speech when he's like telling him he's gonna murder the children of Gotham, the firstborn kids, and he's like foaming at the mouth practically, and we're gonna send them to a watery grave. Like, what? That blew my, like, I was like 15, 16, something like that in that time period. And even as old as that was, it was like, I was freaked out about this. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Catwoman taking the cord, the live electricity wire to her and Max Schreck as she kisses him to take one of her last lives, like saving one for next Christmas or whatever, like frying him up. Tim Burton was the best choice. It's probably good, though, with what I heard he had planned for the third movie going forward, that it did go the way it went. Almost as if, like, I'd rather see diminishing returns and them try to go a little bit more hokey. Because I actually like Batman Forever for... It's not as good as the first two. But I liked Val Kilmer. It was that very big heyday for Jim Carrey, who over-the-top Riddler, Tommy Lee Jones is miscast.
Yeah,
Drew
right off of
Drew
The
Barrymore
Fugitive.
as one of his like girls is so weird. There's so many weird choices, but the soundtracks for both Batman Forever and Batman and Robin were amazing, especially Batman Forever. So like Batman Forever you can call it whatever it is, but it has one of the best movie soundtracks of all time. It gave us Kiss from a Rose by Seal, which if you don't get into that song when it starts playing, I don't know what's wrong with you. You are missing something inside you. I am almost not embarrassed. I almost want to start singing it right now. I'm not going to. I've sung on the channel before, so I'm not going to put anybody through that. But it had like the U2 song. It had like the Flaming Lips were on there.
Oh no, it was definitely the most pop of the Batman shows and movies and soundtracks at the time, because everything was kind of up. You're off the Keaton. It's like, we're gonna write this and not be too dark. It does suffer a little bit. There's odd editing and story stuff, because there was more of a story focus on him choosing to be Batman and his memory of the old journal and when Robin was coming. They actually took two Robins, or one scene, and split them into two in the movie, which makes it all very weird. So there's some odd pacing and story development stuff in that. But there was, I actually kind of liked Kilmer as Batman. Not my favorite.
No.
But it's Val Kilmer, and I was excited to see him kind of doing something. It's really more...
It's unfair that he had
Schumacher just went too much in the other way, and I did not like Chris O'Donnell as Batman, as Robin.
Val deserved a better Batman movie, because I think that he is better at being Bruce Wayne and Batman if it's written better, and I think he could have been better than... He's definitely... If he had a better movie, he'd be better than Christian Bale. Because I just... Honestly, I love Christian Bale. But... and his Bruce Wayne's not bad, but somehow he was bad at being Batman because of that voice. That was just he went too far. Like, it wasn't campy, but it was just too
I will be the first to say that I actually prefer Batman Begins to The Dark Knight.
Yeah, me too.
I think The Batman Begins is a much better Batman movie. His voice isn't over the top. I think it focuses more on him.
Yep.
The Dark Knight is a great Joker movie.
Yes.
I don't think it's a great Batman movie. It's a great Joker movie.
Yes.
And
the way it's shot, Christopher Nolan shot the hell out of that movie. It looks fantastic. The sound design, the set design, the stunts, the way that they shot on IMAX cameras and stuff in Chicago. I can see where they filmed all that stuff. It's fantastic. But yes, Batman Begins, and it was one of those things where Dark Knight just took over because of Heath, and it just overpowered the story of those three movies, which is like lesser. But like, no, you got introduced to Gary Oldman, who is a fantastic Commissioner Gordon.
Oh yeah.
Christian Bale, you're right, had a way better story because it spent more time being Bruce Wayne and not being Batman until later on. The whole traveling to where Ra's al Ghul trains him, and the bait and switch.
Why he is the way he is and why he has these skills. At least they did that. They established how off, Christian Bale's, Bruce Wayne is. He's a guy that's just going to go out and fight people because that's just what he's going to do.
Yeah. You got Tom Wilkinson, the late Tom Wilkinson, the late great Tom Wilkinson, who's one of the best actors that has ever lived, in my opinion, as just a mafia guy. And even though he's British, so British, I bought it. Just the way that he delivered everything and the threats. Just like, you come down here like this, and you tell me, and like, I just like, Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow. Scary. Cillian Murphy is a really great actor. a really, really great actor, not just because of Oppenheimer, but because of everything he did before Oppenheimer and like Peaky Blinders and everything else. The guy is just a kills it. I mean, he shows up in he's in like all the movies, I think, on some level, at least in one scene. Yeah, he's in one scene in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And he's like the guy who's like the judge in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. The fact that he's the one character that persists, kind of villain that persists through, I did appreciate.
They kept bringing him back. Jack Gleason's first role before he became what's his nuts? Joffrey.
Oh yeah, as the little kid. Yeah, and then you got Morgan Freeman as Lucius
Morgan
Fox.
Freeman.
Michael Caine as Alfred.
Caine. Yeah, they've had like Michael Gow. I didn't know how anybody'd be better than him, but then you get Michael Caine, and it's just again masterclass. The acting in those movies, in that first movie, is really good and really solid. It gets him chased by the cops. So you got all of that. The only thing, and Bill and I were talking about this, Bill in the chat, we're talking about the end of that movie, and I agree, like the end kind of sucks a little, but I prefer it to the end of The Dark Knight, which I hated. The Dark Knight ending pissed me off so much, even when I was in the theater watching it. And it's the whole thing with the ship, the two ships, and he wants to prove to Batman that one of them's going to blow the other one up. And the whole movie to me comes to a screeching fucking halt when they show us these people and what they're thinking and talking. And you've got mediocre actors. They're not, look, I don't want to shit on the actors that are in that scene, but I just hated that scene of just all of a sudden, it felt like the IQ in the movie went all the way down. I feel like it would have been way better if we had just nothing happens. They can show the people, don't let them talk. We don't need them to talk. We can show fear. We can show them being concerned and make that the tension of not knowing because, oh my God, these are criminals. Oh my God, we're regular people. What are we going to do? And when nothing happens, that's what all they should have done is nothing happens. They are having a conversation and a fight, and Joker could have just been like, wait a minute. Something should have happened by now. And then that's when Batman just says, because, and please, I wish Christian could have taken it down a notch again. Like it just words screaming. These people just served you. And I'm like,
yeah,
come on.
Now, I have to say, I think there would have been more confusion with the audience. I see where you're coming from, and I do have to agree with Silva. Tiny Lister in that scene was pretty freaking awesome. He was the best one who just like, give it to me, threw it out, was like, I'm going to do what you should have done a long time ago.
Show that. They could show him throw it, but I don't want any of those people to talk.
Well,
you can create tension without dialogue. Show their fear. If you want Tiny, and I agree, Silver, Tiny Lister was awesome in that scene. Also because he's the only real actor.
Well,
in that scene. All those other people, you want to know where you've seen them all before? Selling you hemorrhoid cream on a fucking commercial somewhere, okay? They were commercial actors. These were basically background people to me that got elevated status. And again, actors got to take a job. You get job. You get to put that on your credit that you're in The Dark Knight. Wow. But they're background for a reason. Tiny Lister, he's an absolute imposing menace. You just show him go and give him the line. Whew. Great. And that's all you needed. Just to me, that derailed the entire movie. Batman Begins has nothing like that in there that ever slowed it down for me. Other than I wish that Liam Neeson could have lived another day because when you see the last movie and how it's the fucking League of Assassins again, you could have brought the guy back. Full circle.
Oh, in the grounded
Even though
world,
Dark
everyone
Knight Rises
dies.
is so bad from beginning to end in the first place. So I don't even want to. I won't ever watch that movie again. I don't think, unless I want to make a movie where a video where I shit on it. Because I don't want. I don't want. Like, there's very few times where I'll be that guy about an IP property, but when somebody doesn't understand that Batman doesn't quit because Harvey Dent got killed, no, Batman does not quit because I just couldn't take what we did in that other movie, and we can't get Heath back. Just Chris just dropped the fucking ball in that. Bane and the choices that they allowed Tom Hardy to like. Anyway, we weren't here to talk the shit on movies. We're talking about the best. But in order to talk about the best, I do think that you have to delineate, and especially since we're talking about that trilogy.
Yeah.
But Batman Begins is the best one. Sorry. Now, because of the popularity of those movies, everybody decided we have to go dark and super real. And one of the things I like about comic books is they're not in real worlds. These are comic book worlds. And the great thing about the animated shows is they could go full comic book and not care. And for some reason, they're all so afraid to just let go. Just drop off do a trust fall on the audience and let them decide that comic books are comic books. You don't have to make them in reality. Look at Watchmen. Watchmen's not in our reality, but they managed to at least cover the tone and the things that went on there. Those are dark books. They let them be dark books. Let the comics that can be lighter and not feel like they're in our world. They don't have to. Silver's bringing up Mask of the Phantasm. Again, it just shows like how we were talking about Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. Like, all those are just fantastic movies on their own. They're also animated, and they get to just be comic book movies.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Mask of the Phantasm in the theater, and I was just like blown away because it's like the animated series, just like 80 minutes long. And it still somehow worked the Joker in there, even though it really shouldn't have been in there. But guess what? They still made it work. They still nailed it. They still managed to, because you knew there had to be a note that said you have to have the Joker.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if whatever. Work it in that Joker did this so that it comes back full circle. We got to get Mark. We got to get Kevin in there. But Mask of the Phantasm is still, I think, underrated and needs to be brought more to the forefront because it literally was Batman the Animated Series, the movie. It just doesn't get spilled like that.
Well, and I think it handled the problem that especially the Nolan Batman really ran into is you had Batman Begins, I'm becoming Batman, and then it's like the next movie, I want to quit being Batman. And that's like his run throughout the whole thing. And then, of course, Dark Knight Rises is, yes, I stopped being Batman, so now I got to learn how to be old man Batman again before I always miss, like, we need, like, Batman just being Batman for a couple of movies. However, Mask of the Phantom was able to challenge the should I be Batman or not while he was still being Batman and dedicated to be Batman. It just gave him that, because he's never dealt with it before. Yeah, it's just the idea of, can I even do this? Is this a possibility? And then, of course, by the end, no, you've got to be Batman, and then we're fine, and then he continues on. But it's the only one that's handled that overused trope to me in an effective way, which didn't become an annoying sub story of like, no, I want to see Batman. Don't just choose to not be Batman. Sorry, that's a personal thing, but I wanted to throw that out.
No, it's absolutely right. It's like the Spider-Man No More kind of thing of, I'm going to quit being Spider-Man because I want this in my life, and it's the difficulty and the pull back of like, and the tragedy, like he didn't know about her and what she was doing. And she thought, right. Even she was like, I don't have to have my revenge.
Right.
Like, and they both don't know about each other. Like, that's amazing storytelling. And it's for kids. But we're all grown up kids now. And yeah, it has turned into a Batman thing on here, but it's Batman is DC. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess we touched on Watchmen there, and of course V for Vendetta, the film version.
Yeah. Yes.
I love the movie. I love V for Vendetta. I love the fact that DC has these side properties that aren't just our main hero line that we can go, oh, these are great. I'll just touch on Watchmen because, well, I think it did get the tone. God, that movie kind of dragged and was way too much slow motion. But it did eventually spawn, I think, a far superior HBO television sequel with the Watchmen series that was on HBO, with which, if anything, taught America about the Tulsa Massacre in 1921 that nobody knew about.
I knew about it, but yeah, not most people don't.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Way too few people knew about.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a really good, and I'm not the biggest. I like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I liked 300. Sucker Punch is this. I don't know what it is. It's a lot. It's like a music video that has a story in there somewhere about shit that, and you know, it has John Hamm and Oscar Isaac in an early role. Yep, that's right. Bow wow.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually like most of Watchmen, and I can sit there and now that they've got the almost 4-hour long version, I actually can sit and watch it. Like now that they like blended in the pirate comic book that the kids reading into it and all that. I really like Watchmen. I'm just gonna say it. Because I think that it's Zack Snyder's, like, if he has a masterpiece, I think it's Watchmen. I don't think that it's the best thing ever in the entire world, but I love the like I said, I don't like Alan Moore the person, but I like Alan Moore the comic, like the stories he tells, even if he does like hate superheroes, which I find so interesting that a lot of comic book writers don't like not a lot. I shouldn't say a lot, but there's way too many comic book writers that don't like the characters and don't like superheroes, and they write it in like this shitty way. And but there's something about the story of Watchmen that just gets me. I don't like these people. These are all complicated. I think they're real, like a lot of feel really real. I think that bothers people. I'm not saying you. How just what would superheroes really be like story. It's really, I mean, we have The Boys, but The Boys is also like created by a guy who hates superheroes.
Yeah, it's a totally different tone there. Yeah.
It's a totally different tone. This is that dark, like you're not going to feel great at the end of it. But for some reason it doesn't bother me. And I think that the performances in that movie from everyone in Watchmen is fantastic. Jackie Earl Haley he's done a bunch of stuff, but he's really only good in this and maybe Preacher.
Yeah. No, he was amazing in this. Honestly, Billy Crudup I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
In the whole thing. And
Jeffrey Dean Morgan
for his brief appearance. Well, I guess he's in the flashbacks and stuff.
He's in it, but he's scary. He is a scary dude, and he just channels that shit. There's stuff in that I could do without, but I don't want to sit here and act like I'm not I don't like Zack Snyder or anything. I think he really swung for the fences. And the fact that they let him make put a supercut out there and everything legitimately, I think made the movie better. Unlike the other one that they tried.
Sure.
And I still think that was a turd. No matter who, a bunch of unfortunate things happened with Justice League that's out of everyone's control. Which brings us to like that era of stuff, right? The failed, or I don't consider it a failure. I just think that after a while,
Look,
people.
I
stopped.
liked Man of Steel. It's not my favorite Superman movie. I think it was an interesting choice of where to take, when you have a Superman that has doubt, which is not really something that to me is much of a Superman thing. He is always, he knows what he stands for. And I think that's something that Corin Sweats did better and something we saw more in previous Superman iterations. And I don't think it's a perfect movie. I have my own issues, but I was there with the, all right, telling an interesting story. That's cool. I'll go with this. I think it was Batman versus Superman where they stepped into it, because to me that was the, okay, great. Well, we've got to do catch up right now. Let's go straight to our Avengers movie, or I guess Civil War at that point, or whatever that you're having, because that and Civil War came about. I think it was the same year. But I think to me, that's what killed it, because you aren't developing characters. Now you're just trying to throw them together for money. And that's what that felt like. And yes, The Dark Knight Returns is an amazing graphic novel that requires a whole history in order for it to make sense. You can't just throw these. Yes, it has one of the best Batman solo scenes that we've ever seen. Sure, I will grant that. But God, yes, I wasn't even going to bother mentioning Lex Luthor Silva, but and yeah, Justice League was just problematic from the get.
I agree. I think Man of Steel is way better than any of the other ones that they did. I don't love everything about it. Superman should be saving people, not destroying Metropolis.
Yeah.
I think it all falls apart near the end. But like Russell Crowe is good in it. The whole I love the Krypton stuff. I love Henry Cavill. Yeah, I don't like Kevin Costner, but that's not really his fault. The writing of him, some of it makes sense, but again, it's the whole, we don't want you to like. But Silva just puts it. The tornado scene was dumb.
Yeah,
it was like as if people don't know that he could have gone, and nobody would have noticed. And if they did, who cares? There were people asking questions already, right? There were people going like, it's like Pete was like, oh, we saw you push the bus up. People were. It's not like So out of all of those, yeah, because B versus S. BS was just a scene and then a scene and then a scene and then a scene, and it's just like the plot really didn't seem to matter. Jesse Eisenberg is miscast as hell. I don't care what they were going for. I don't blame him either. It was, again, having Doomsday in your second movie, shoehorning in Wonder Woman because having them just be animosity. And of course, what everybody will bring up, Martha, why did you say that name? Like, we didn't, again, they skipped like 2 or 3 movies from each series just to play catch up to what Marvel was doing instead of just building your universe, man. Take your time. They did. You're always going to be here. Apparently not, though. Apparently Paramount Plus owns them or something now. But like... But you had time, and it's just a bunch of bad decisions due to wanting to make money fast. And then, I feel bad almost for the Snyderverse people, but I do want to correct one thing that Silva said. And that's, I didn't say anything about self-insert writers. I said writers who hate superheroes. That's what I said. I didn't say too many self-insert writers. Everybody a lot of people insert themselves into comics, and it either works or it doesn't. That's what I'll say about that. But it was just, yeah, like, let's find out like why Batman is the way he is. Let's see some of that. And then you've got the Suicide Squad, which is, as soon as everybody saw Jared Leto as the Joker, that movie failed.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who is trying to be charitable. I don't know who you were trying to suck up to, but, and if you like Jared Leto, fine. I don't like him. I don't think I've ever liked him. My favorite scene in Panic Room is when he gets killed by Dwight Yoakam. Spoilers. That was like the best part of that movie. So I don't know. Like, there was just, that whole thing just failed. But I loved the first Wonder Woman movie.
Agreed.
Even because Patty Jenkins convinced us that she could act.
Gal Gadot. Yeah.
That Gal Gadot could act. Her bad acting didn't matter. Chris Pine, again, I agree. There was somebody I heard recently, I think it was over on Comic Pop, put Chris Pine in everything.
Oh yeah, charming as all hell. Yeah.
It was filled with things that was pure Wonder Woman. And as bad as Wonder Woman 84 is, I felt like at least they went full comic book. They went full fucking comic book. That's what I wanted. It's not great. I gave it a glowing review back when it first came out because I was stoned off my ass.
You know, that might help, but yeah.
It might help, folks. It's not a sustainable thing, but in the moment, you might be like, hey, you know what? That wasn't as bad as I thought. Fortunately,
I don't remember how bad that was. Yeah.
But I also really liked the first Aquaman movie because
totally
for that same reason. Jason Momoa, if you don't like his Aquaman, let's first admit that most people don't like Aquaman, period. Do not, or at least do not care about Aquaman, period. So at least picking him was a choice. Jason Momoa is having a fucking blast. I like Jason Momoa. And I thought that, again, they went full comic book. Spreads of just CGI monsters and creatures. I don't care if it looks perfect or real. I don't want real. I want comic book. I want to see the underwater world as vividly and cool as it is. You know, you got to have the guy that plays the clone in Boba Fett actually get to be a nice, just regular ass dude as his dad. Nicole Kidman's his mom. Willem Dafoe as one of the Atlanteans it's Willem Dafoe. And it's all comic book. And Patrick Wilson, who just tries in everything. Patrick Wilson is great. Even in the second Aquaman movie with all the controversy, it was, again, full comic book movie. Jason Momoa's being Jason Momoa. Patrick Wilson, again, is acting his heart out as just in a throwaway movie. There's things that I liked. The thing is, that's what's weird, is that as that universe got closer to death, the more I liked the movies. Because I'm also the guy who likes The Flash. And I know that Ezra Miller is problematic as fuck. And some people don't like his acting. But see, Barry is not supposed to... The Flash isn't Bruce Wayne or Clark Kent. He's not suave. He's supposed to be a dork. He's supposed to be awkward. He's supposed to be that way. Grant Gustin, and I think it was tainted because Grant Gustin probably should have been the Flash because he proved how good he was. And they wanted to say you're a TV actor and not a movie actor instead of just giving it to him. But we want Ezra Miller because he's been established as a movie guy. Big mistake. But I still loved The Flash because of what it was, not for what it wasn't. I don't care how I know it's not perfect. I don't want it to be perfect. Michael Keaton, it was silly. And I think sometimes we just gotta embrace the silly. we shouldn't just have to go to these movies expecting high art and the next biggest thing. When we talk about like being able to go to the movies and just enjoy ourselves again, I think that those movies are enjoyable as long. I think the video and reviewer community on YouTube and on social media has gotten so like mean spirited, and everything has to be so accurate and so this and so that, instead of just going, this is just fun and harmless and whatever.
There are interesting points, and I think some good choices in the Flash. And honestly, I don't think Ezra Miller is horrible in that by any means. I think the biggest problem the Flash had was that it was a movie that was announced before the TV show came out, and that didn't come out until the TV show ended its multi-year run. And it had an idea of story that would have been interesting in that time, but had already been done a couple of times already by the time it came out. It suffered from studio problems more than anything else. But I think that was endemic with all of the movies of that era, is you had some possible good ideas initially, and then they got completely taken over by producers and suffered various ills because of that. That would be the kindest way I would put all of that for most of those series of films.
To bring up Silva's thing, no, we did not talk about the Swamp Thing movie from the 80s. We did kind of bring up the show for a second. I remember wasn't there 2 Swamp Thing movies?
Yes.
Because one had Heather Locklear, and that's the one I remember because it had Heather Locklear.
Sure.
At the time.
It was it Bardo
Adrienne Barbeau.
Adrienne Barbeau in the first one, yeah. And then those were weird. Those were weird.
Something is a hard sell no matter what. I think it probably works better animated, and that's what they probably should lean into. They probably did. Some characters they can't figure out what to do or how to do it. You know, you don't want to make it a kids program like a Y7, but it's also, how do you it's like the same thing with Man Thing. What do you do with that? Like, oh, I know.
Right.
Put it in Werewolf by Night and just have it be a small little thing that, like, oh, and that's kind of cool. Look, Man Thing.
It could be that reference that a few people get excited about, and everybody else just goes, oh, plant creature.
Well, another thing we kind of did forget to talk about that is relevant, and I brought it up for a second, was Preacher. Preacher also is a show that's also a DC property from Vertigo, again, like V for Vendetta. And again, the reason that's good is because Garth Ennis isn't writing about superheroes. He's, it's the same thing, like that show is phenomenal. Is one of
beautifully
my
cast.
Yeah.
Just over the top and committed to its over the topness. Yeah, I love that show. Surprised the hell out of me how much I love that show.
And so at the end of the day, what we have now is we've got the newest Superman movie that James Gunn did. And there's going to be a whole lot of other things that come next. And I mean, it took me 2 viewings before I got into the Superman movie. The first time I watched it, I honestly kind of didn't like it all that much, as much as everybody else, because I went in with, I don't know what I was going into that theater with. It wasn't baggage towards the DCEU either. But once I really understood what they were doing the second time around, and there's still things about it I don't like. I hated Jimmy Olsen in that movie. I thought, why is he written to be such a dick? Jimmy's just a dork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the hardest thing for me with that Superman, and I love so many of the things in it, and I have not had a chance to rewatch it, but I like origin stories because they establish things. We get to learn about characters and so much. my real issue with this Superman movie, and I know it's minor and probably goes away after rewatches, is it feels like this is the movie that we catch at the end of a baseball game on network television. It literally felt like, and now back to Superman, already in progress. I felt like I missed a whole chunk of film because I didn't have a time to be really introduced to any of these characters. They just threw everybody at us, and it was like play catch up. And I think for a certain amount of comic fans, they're just like, thank you, you don't waste our time. I don't need to see Superman's intro all the time, and I know who Lex Luthor is, and I get all these times, and we can just get in and tell the story. I get that. But I also feel that not getting a chance to learn about these characters before they get their challenges really forces that sense of catch up that can be a little disorienting.
But in the end, I really loved what they did in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
I think it all is carried so much by the guy who played Superman, and feels like
David
it's been like
Cornsweet's
that.
amazing. Yeah.
I think when you look at Christopher and you look at Henry and you look at him, it's the Andrew Garfield thing, right? Good actors, really good in bad movies. Except, I'm not saying that all those movies were bad. I think that they were better than what they were given. Except, I think James at least gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And what Superman should be, what all these characters should be. I think everybody was represented pretty well. I think Hawkgirl needs a bit more work, but I have a lot more like hope for DC fans going forward as far as like what the potential is going to be. And I like that they've got the Batman by, the Matt Reeves stuff that's taking fucking forever to have the sequel come out. I like Robert Pattinson in that movie. And I thought Colin Farrell and the Penguin Show, top-notch stuff. Didn't like the Riddler. Thought Paul Dano's Riddler, again, not his fault. He didn't write the movie. It was a terrible Riddler. That was a terrible version of the Riddler to me. I again, bringing it too far to like real, like I don't know how to do the Riddler in this dark movie. Well, guess what then? Don't do the Riddler. Just, you have mafia guys and you have the Penguin. You don't need other players in this movie. A lot of times, like look at Batman Begins, like a lot of stories that deal with Batman deals with him fighting the mob first.
Well, I'd like to, I did enjoy that. I thought I appreciated at least a different take on the Riddler, that you were doing something. So I appreciated that kind of direction. What gets me excited is I would like to see, and that's something I hope that we do catch with the sequel, is I want to see a Batman that progresses. That's the one thing that we really haven't seen, is a Batman that learns more. We got a little bit, I think, maybe in from Batman Begins to The Dark Knight. But again, Batman was kind of a secondary character in that movie, I felt. I want, now we've got the gritty Batman that has to know how to punch and fight, and I go in and I kick everyone's ass. Now I want to go, hey, if they're going to be armed better, if there's going to be more of them, now I got to learn how to be sneaky. Now I got to learn how to be stealth Batman, develop that skill, because we got some of the detective stuff developed in the first thing. Build onto that, because that's the one thing that I think that we have been lacking, is if you're going to give us a young Batman, then let us see his progression. Let him get better at things. Let him become that ultimate Batman a couple of movies down the road. And don't ever get him to fucking want to quit. Hate that.
Sparkle's Batman failed on the most important aspect of Batman / Zorro, the top persona.
The fop. Yeah.
Or the fop persona. Yeah. Again, I don't think these movies have to be perfect, and I don't think they have to get everything right, but I do think you have to get the core of the character correct. Otherwise, you're just I don't know. I think Robert Pattinson's actually a pretty good actor when he's not in IPs. When they just let him be weird in movies, he's great. But yeah. So and I'm trying to think of anything else that I've missed, and even if we have, then somebody can bring it up in the comments section. This was a big video, a big discussion, and we covered a lot.
All right, quick speed round before we wrap things
absolutely.
up. Okay,
Round,
favorite
okay.
Batman.
Oh, Kevin Conroy.
Okay, awesome. Favorite Bruce Wayne.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah. See, I'm totally with you on that one. I am totally with you on that. To me, Conroy is the perfect blend because he's got the perfect Batman with a perfect counter persona. I love Christian Bale's Batman, but I'm getting kind of partial to Pattinson's. But when I'd say Christian Bale's, I am talking Batman Begins, not The Dark Knight. But I completely agree that Keaton is the best Bruce Wayne. To me, he is slightly crazy, and you feel like he's so committed to being Batman, he doesn't know how to be a regular person. And I love how he's able to set that up.
If I have to pick a live action Batman, then it's probably Pattinson. I know that that's kind of sacrilegious, but
no, man.
I'm talking about when they're in the suit.
Yeah, exactly. Just being in the suit.
The Batman stuff in the Batman was the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
Kilmer was a good, decent. It kind of didn't matter who was in those suits. You know, everybody was talking about the bat nipples and the bat butts and the bat credit cards and stuff. But because Affleck there was a lot of CGI, and Bale screamed too much.
Right.
So that's why I go with Conroy, because he was the most measured and balanced. And then best Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton.
Yeah. Okay. Best Alfred.
Michael Caine.
Okay. Yeah. You know, I kind of like the fuck now it just I fucking wrote it down too. Andy Serkis. I liked Andy Serkis's that he is a fighter and why he is there to kind of protect and watch out. Michael Caine was great, but he is very much a paternal character. And I can't remember the actor who was in the Batman '89 who played the original Michael Gow. He just seemed like a butler.
Yeah.
But Andy Serkis seems like an actual ally that could help. And I kind of like I like that interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Personally.
That's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah. Favorite Batmobile.
89.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's not practical, but none of them are to me. I that tank is just, it's the second best. See, I don't know. I kind of like the one from Batman Forever too.
You know, I gotta say, the Futura from Batman '66, I fucking love, man.
Oh, okay.
I love that as a kid. It's just different enough, but it's actually somewhat practical. I do like the Pattinson kind of just revved up like muscle car. But if we're talking an actual Batmobile, I don't know, man. I just love that as a kid.
You can actually drive it anywhere. Yeah. Where you can't take any of the other ones. Pretty much anywhere. They're just big props. That's basically it's like.
And so we cover other characters here. Who's your favorite Superman?
Who's my favorite Superman? It's Christopher.
Sure.
It's Christopher, just because Chris in real life had the biggest heart. and he brought all of that to it. When you see him in interviews, you just it was his curse at the same time, because he could and it happens to other people that have played Superman, that it's like the only thing they're known for. But Chris was just a good person all around, even after his injury, and showing up on Smallville in his chair, like still out there. It has to, like, because Henry's great, but he was in movies where they wrote him to still be a little too off.
Mm-hmm.
And Dean Cain's a motherfucking ICE agent, so fuck him.
Yeah, totally.
And then this new guy, he's got a lot of potential, but he needs another movie or two before he can surpass Chris. And Brandon Routh is unfortunately the the one that everybody forgets, even though it was kind of like he's just
the George Lazenby of Superman.
Yeah, he was doing a Christopher Reeve impersonation, which was good, but again, he was in a bad movie and he didn't get another chance to try again with better stuff. So it's Chris just almost by default, because
yeah, he was amazing, and I agree. Not enough people watch Time After Time. Great love story with him and Jane Seymour.
or Death Trap.
Yeah, see, there you go. Let's just pull back some deep ones there. But I'm going old school. George Reeves.
I wondered if you were gonna go all the
George Reeves Superman. I grew up with him, and yeah, Chris was amazing, but he just had this, it was the weekly thing, and it was this great kind of fun, like half wink play between when he was Clark Kent to where he was Superman. And look, having bullets bounce off of you, and so was it. But what does he had the great line is, bullets bounce off your chest, but he has to dodge staplers. But if you do, you watch it. But for some reason, it gives a sort of human feel to the whole characters, because he's invincible, but he could still get, taken advantage of. He could still be surprised. Anyway, and also he believed, legend was he believed the character so much that that's kind of how he passed away. You can look that up in your Wikipedia for George Reeves. Very, very tragic, but
yeah.
And George Reeves to Christopher Reeve. I mean, it just seemed like the proper step right there.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. All right, what else you got?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, best Lex Luthor.
Oh, Clancy Brown.
Yeah, I want to say Gene Hackman, but Gene was just too
comic. Rosenbaum actually, I think, had that like great friendliness to an edge where you could see how he would really be like that dark Lex Luthor.
But it also hinged that performance also kind of hinges on his relationship with his dad. So Lionel Luthor is like the real villain of the show, and that actor who, God, I can't remember his name now. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Fantastic. Donald Glover. No. Is it Donald Glover? No. Something Glover. Whatever.
Crispin?
No. Hang on, folks.
I didn't watch the show enough to know.
No. I'm doing it. Like, I'm just gonna quickly Google this crap because I can't believe it's Glover. It's something Glover. I met him. It was amazing. Small little cast. I'm gonna get so mad at myself here.
We're on the edge.
Where is he? Where? I don't care. John Glover. And so, like, otherwise, like, Michaels is really, really good, but it's Clancy. Clancy it's almost not fair for everybody else because he got to be all the different versions. Like, he got to be President Luthor, but he got all the different kinds of storylines. Plus, he got to be on the Adventures of Superman. He got to be on the Justice League. They used him in all kinds of movies and stuff. And honestly, they really need to just give Clancy like a cameo in one of the movies in a multiverse section or something. I don't care. Because yeah, it's Clancy. Trying trying to think if there's any other little tidbit. Does anybody else? Oh, best Joker. Again, that for me is easy. It's Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Mark.
I mean, it really, really is. You know, if you're doing live action, I think I like Heath Ledger more than Jack Nicholson. They are very different Jokers, but I like the edginess. To me, Jack was almost a little too comic tongue-in-cheek, which reminded me of the old Cesar Romero, which, you know, was fun.
Heath got to be pure chaos, which is Joker. Jack was a mobster who went crazy. He was, you know, he was a homicidal maniac who got dropped in acid and went even crazier. And they leaned into the camp of the character and more, and even though that's more comic act, you like the zaniness, but it depends on what generation, because there's a whole story about 3 Jokers and which Joker is it? You know, is it the criminal, the clown, the comedian? But Heath got to be the one that's pure chaos for chaos sake. You know, and unfortunately it was just the beginning and then we lost him. The forever dance. I could see the forever dance between him and Batman in that role. So Heath, for live action, just because of that pure chaos of Batman and Joker fighting forever. And yeah, maybe he did rip off Brandon Lee's The Crow. I don't know, but like, if you're gonna rip off somebody, Brandon Lee's The Crow is a pretty good one to rip off.
Yeah. And yes, we're not. Yeah, Jared's not even on the board, and the current one, I can't remember. I keep forgetting the name who plays him, which we haven't really seen yet. We have to wait.
Probably
the little bit
20
that we saw was not impressive to me, or not as Joker, but. There's not enough lanterns for anyone to know anything.
Yeah, right. We didn't even talk about like the Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds. We didn't talk
Barry
about
Keoghan. Yes, thank you, Bill.
We didn't talk about James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie, which I thought was pretty good. That is a pretty good movie.
I enjoyed that.
I like Suicide Squad more than I like Superman.
Okay, totally
just
fair.
Because it's all weird. And it led to Peacemaker, so it bridges. It made up for the first Suicide Squad movie and still let Joel Kinnaman come back. Even
I thought that was nice, and Harley was awesome in that.
Polka Dot Man. You know, the whole beginning scene where everybody just gets killed, including Boomerang Guy and everything. It's just that's a solid, fun movie. Another pure comic book movie. I mean, Starro.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. Now, we didn't talk about Jonah Hex because nobody does.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Oh, boy. Lego Batman was good.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
was good. And I think Zach Galifianakis's performance as the Joker, just being so butthurt that Batman doesn't care about him that much. It's just like it kind of goes against it, but like I think that subversion of expectations is what kind of makes that movie work a lot.
Yeah,
but we'll learn that.
I mean, they got the perfect humor and self-referential, and just like. Lego's been amazing with the way they bring their characters. So the fact they were able to make that into a whole movie is just, yeah.
And we were trying to cover the best, but we also talked about the worst. I never saw Black Adam. I never saw DC's Super Pets. I did not watch the Harley Quinn cartoon. I didn't watch a bunch of stuff. So some things just slip by. But that's why the chat's there. I'm glad that the chat's there to throw these things at us. And remind us. Boy, but we've gone on for quite a while. So for those of you who didn't catch it from the beginning, like Silver says, he's going to go back and watch it. Enjoy the intro, as awkward as it is. But I think that's about it. Are you satisfied? I feel pretty satisfied.
No, man, I'm glad with where we covered and everything up. And yeah, I wanted to hit that speed round because It's always just fun to catch some of these things. So
Yeah, so if you have any extra comments, go ahead and throw them in the comments section. And I will answer you as long as they're, actual questions or things that are any regular person would respond to. Thanks for hanging around for me. Hey, we were caught up, man. I could probably keep going, and if I went back if I didn't stop myself from talking about the comics, we probably would be. It would be like a 4-hour video.
yeah, we could have easily split this up.
And
Into
I
a
really did want to
multiple-part
talk
thing.
more about V for Vendetta and Watchmen, but I think we can do that on another video for at least for V for Vendetta when we're talking about Alan Moore and things like that. So, we've got the Absolute Universe, Ultimate Universe for Marvel video that I'm going to do. That's one video, and then we were talking about a V for Vendetta thing that maybe we'll do. We'll talk about that after. But otherwise, what are you doing on your channel? I know you just wrapped up talking about
just wrapped up Night of the Seven Kingdoms over with Mark and Don over on Enchantment of Eternity. And in fact, we're going to be back next Monday over there doing a special on the old 90s series, The Outer Limits. So if you're an old Outer Limits fan, you can check out Enchantment of Eternity this coming Monday the 9th or following Monday the 9th over there. Just finished Fallout over here with Rob. Otherwise, in the midst of a break, and then probably we'll be back for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 at the end of the month. So you can check that over on D's Reviews, and probably have this guy here with me. Maybe even a few other fun people. Should be nice.
Yes. Other than that, this was kind of just making sure that I get back on the horse and make something and don't fall too far behind, especially because, again, things are rough out there for everybody. And I wanted to make something that was fun and enjoyable to talk about, and talk about the good and the bad and everything, and talk about something we haven't really talked about on either of our channels much, which is DC comics, movies, shows, all that. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've made it this far, because of course I never said it at any other point in the 2.5 hours we've been going. So yeah, and we'll see you on the next video, everybody.
Oh, isn't that cute? Little bats are sleeping. Someone finish him off.
Loser, loser, loser. Ha!
Once again, I have defeated you, Batman!
Now madness takes you forever. I will enjoy feasting on your bones.
Sorry, love. You're plucked.
Hey, someone help Bat Baby up off the floor!